For 2 decades, Darth Sidious trained his apprentice, the Sith assassin Darth Maul, in some of the most brutal ways imaginable. Whether it be on Mustafar, Orsis, Maigito, or Hypori, Maul's life was defined by his training, with Sidious ensuring he would be a perfect, powerful weapon for the Sith. Not only did Maul learn exotic and forbidden fighting styles, but he was also harshly disciplined by his master, further helping to promote his complete dedication to the dark side. And yet, within Star Wars Legends, for all of the time and effort Sidious poured into Maul, it seems as though he was all too ready to sacrifice his apprentice to the Jedi on Naboo, preferring to sacrifice Maul to further the Sith grand plan and his own rise to become Emperor of the Galaxy. Let me explain exactly what I mean here. In Jedi vs. Sith, The Essential Guide to the Force, Sidious wrote a section entitled On Selecting Apprentices, where he gave his opinion on the best way to pick and train a Sith apprentice, ensuring they were powerful but not ambitious to the point where they would focus solely on replacing their master. Here, Sidious also provides insights into his reasoning behind choosing the apprentices he did in Maul, Tyrannus, and Vader. But the entry also has a pretty important and startling admission from Sidious. As you might expect, Sidious defined Maul's reason for existing as a simple one: to exact revenge against the Jedi for what they did to the Sith, serving as Sidious's assassin and an extension of his will. However, Sidious then openly admits he had foreseen Darth Maul's death during his duel with the Jedi, and yet he did nothing to caution Maul or warn him about the coming danger. He simply allowed Maul to continue his mission, sacrificing him to Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan by allowing him to be killed. For Sidious, Maul would fulfill his destiny and purpose by revealing the Sith to the Jedi, disturbing their order so as to demonstrate their complacent attitude that had endured for centuries, as well as to make them nervous and paranoid. However, Sidious allowed Maul to be defeated on Naboo for a more important reason. He revealed that by the time he foresaw Maul's death, he had already become aware of the believed Jedi Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker, who was discovered on Tatooine. And more important, Sidious too believed that Anakin would eventually become his apprentice, a powerful one at that. Therefore, Sidious allowed Maul to be defeated as he knew it would create a path for Anakin to be trained by Obi-Wan as a Jedi, with the Jedi Order now nervous about the return of the Sith, ultimately leading to Anakin joining him. This reveal is perfectly in line with Sidious's conclusions made in the Book of Sith, where the Dark Lord noted that Darth Maul was useful in his own way, but easy to replace when his purpose had been served. With the discovery of Anakin by the Naboo crisis in Episode 1, Maul had served his purpose and could be sacrificed to the Jedi. The real interesting aspect to all of this is it's completely contrary to the events that are explained in the novel Darth Plagueis by James Luceno. Given that the Plagueis novel was published in 2012, almost 5 years after the Jedi vs. Sith guide, it's not too surprising that there are important differences here, especially comparing a short entry and a full novel with needed story development. But in the novel, Sidious doesn't foresee Maul's death, especially not through a vision with the Force or anything like that. While Sidious had his suspicions that Maul was careless and prideful when it came to finishing his opponents, seen through Maul's mission to eradicate the leadership of the Black Sun crime syndicate, he still doesn't know Maul will die in a duel with the Jedi on Naboo to the extent presented in his On Selecting Apprentices entry. In fact, you could make a far greater argument Darth Plagueis foresaw Maul's death more than Sidious did. But the Plagueis novel is clear. When Sidious traveled to Naboo following the end of the Trade Federation blockade and invasion, it's only then that he would learn of Maul's defeat, which not only shocked him but saddened him as well, filling him with a sense of loss and profound solitude. Knowing Maul killed Qui-Gon and yet lost to his apprentice Obi-Wan, it made no sense to Sidious, and he had to do everything in his power not to approach the Jedi on Naboo as his alter ego Palpatine to discover more details on the matter. Even Sidious's desire to sacrifice Maul, knowing Anakin would one day be his apprentice, is treated differently in the novel. As Sidious would declare to his master Plagueis when killing him, Maul would continue to help him execute any task that was too risky for him to undertake, utilizing Maul going forward in his role as a Sith assassin. This would be true of Maul when Dooku was taken as his apprentice, and I'd argue it would have continued once Vader was incorporated into the Sith Order as well. Nonetheless, this is one of those interesting instances within the lore where there's two explanations for a particular question or event. Personally, I prefer the novel version, but I do think there's ultimately a way to balance them, especially when defining Sidious's foreshadowing as Maul's death versus his defeat, knowing he does eventually return, and room for both to be used within one's personal headcanon. But going based solely on Sidious's words in his On Selecting Apprentices entry, he did sacrifice Maul to the Jedi in Episode 1, clearing the path for Anakin to eventually fill the role as his Sith apprentice. So there we have it, how Sidious's knowledge of Maul's death is treated within the Legends lore. Thank you very much to all of the Patreon members of Star Wars Reading Club, as your support is so greatly appreciated. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, you can find a link to it in the description below, along with all of our social media links and a link to our Star Wars gaming channel. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions. Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. If not for me... for everything not quite proceeding as you'd foreseen.